All right, well, I think we'll go ahead and get started. We'll continue to check the waiting room for others that may try to join. I am Matt Taskey. I'm a double alum and the Director of Alumni Engagement since January. We have a few other team members that are with us. We go through. Amy, will you introduce yourself briefly?
Yep, I'm Amy Smith and I work with Matt. I've been at the Mount since January. I'm not an alum, but there's still time. So I'll get there. My boss laughs. He knows I'm not bluffing. Yeah.
And then Joe Cornley, will you briefly introduce yourself, please?
And I'm sorry for the I'm sorry for the glow. The president just sent me a private chat saying, "Joe, your face is all washed out," and I'm trying to fix it. I just can't. So I apologize. I work for Amy and work for the president and work for really all of you, honestly. And that's kind of how we all feel, that we are here to serve each and every one of you and our students. I've been at the Mount for about just about 7 years now, actually. I'm not an alum, but I really feel like one. I'm very connected to the mission, very connected to everything about the Mount, and absolutely love it. Delighted to be here and see your smiling faces.
Thanks, Joe. And Morgan Carpenter, will you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Morgan Carpenter. I'm a 2020 graduate of the Mount, so I'm a new alum, and I am the content specialist in IA. So if you follow us on Facebook or Instagram, you're interacting with probably me. I also help with a lot of other things alumni related, and I'm so excited that I get to engage with all of you tonight and see your smiling faces, even though it's through a screen.
Thank you, Morgan. And we do have some other staff members with us as well. We have Dr. Williams. I don't know if everyone can see Dr. Williams. Is Mrs. Williams able to join us tonight?
No, she's on another call.
Okay.
She has a board meeting tonight.
So this year is obviously a little bit different. Did everybody have an opportunity to see Dr. Williams' welcome message earlier today? All right, good. So this year's homecoming is actually presented by Skyline Chili. So we're proud to partner with Skyline. There's no better way to come back home than to come back with Skyline, right? But the purpose of tonight's meeting was really to kick the week off with prayer, reflection, and an opportunity to set the tone for the week. And so what better way to do that than to bring in Sister Karen Elliott and Michelle Arnold from Mission Integration to help us see that through. So Sister Karen, you want to take over and run the show?
Okay, thank you, Matt. Michelle and I are both very excited to have the opportunity to share with you. And so what we plan to do is to share what's going on in mission integration, and then we'll close with the prayer. And Matt, I'm glad you already introduced Skyline Chili because I thought I should thank them for their sponsorship. I didn't want to say the prayer was sponsored by Skyline Chili. I thought I should give credit to God for that. So,
really smart.
Yes. So what we want to share with you is some of the things that are going on, because we think as alums, you will be proud of the direction that we're moving in. And if you have any ideas for us, we are open. And we're not just open, we get excited about new ideas, and we really enjoy the dreaming, the planning, and then of course the implementation, which is always a blessing. But one of our new initiatives, and we're in our second year, are mission ambassadors. And these are students that identify, they write in their own nomination, and then they have recommendation forms. Students that have been very involved in campus ministry in their Catholic high school or public high school, very involved in their church or parish, and they want to continue to grow that. And what we're excited about is we have 20 students that are dedicated to being mission ambassadors. The university gives them a financial award for all of their involvement at the university. And it's exciting to watch these young people who are interested in ministry or philanthropy or like 501c3, but they have hearts of service and they have a strong desire to continue in that. And it's exciting to me to see that they're not all religious studies minors. They're in graphic design and communication and business and education and health management. And so it's exciting to me to see people begin to broaden their idea of spirituality, that it's not pigeonholed into one thing, that it's a broad understanding. And so those young people, those 20 students, are very excellent leaders. They're doing a lot of things via Zoom, and the creativity and the excitement continues, which makes my heart very happy. Another group that's going strong is our Fellowship of Christian Athletes. And I'd love to take credit, although most of my good ideas really come from students and people I work with. And this group is no exception. So one day I get a phone call, and these 3 young men who happen to be football athletes said, Sister Karen, we want to get a prayer group started on campus. And I said, sure. And they said, can we meet with you? So here they come at 6 p.m. They've finished football practice. And they said, we want to start the Fellowship of Christian Athletes on our campus. And we've already been trained. Now, I have never had a group of students come to me and say, we want to start this new initiative. And we went and got training. So the seriousness with which they approach this is just exciting. And while Sister Barbara Davis, with whom I live, we're at the meeting almost every week, but we're not in charge. The students are in charge. They pick the scriptures. They lead the Bible study. They break the group into small groups. We talk about that particular piece of scripture, and then we come back together. And it's created a support group. For example, one of our students, her mother is very critically ill in the hospital with COVID. And so this young student had a group to reach out to. Please pray for my mom. Please pray for me. I'm scared. So if you would pray for Emily's mom, we would really be grateful for that. But I think that those kind of groups and that type of community is part and parcel. It's constitutive of who the Mount is and who you as alums have really created the Mount to be, that caring community. And we continue your legacy even today. Another prayer that just, many of these things were organic. And so the prayer with overcoming racism. And we meet every Tuesday. We began when George Floyd was murdered. And we've just been praying a prayer for overcoming racism every Tuesday at 8 o'clock. If you're interested, send your email and a chat to Michelle, and we'll put you on the list. You don't have to come every week, but it's open. And we have alums that join us from Florida, from Massachusetts, from Dayton, Ohio. Bernadette's on almost every Tuesday. And I just find it so exciting that our oldest person joining is an 82-year-old Mount alum from the class of 1960. And then we have our 18-year-old freshman. And I just think it's a tremendous blessing that God gives our young people the opportunity to be encouraged by our alums. And our alums are encouraged with the hopefulness of our students. So we're very excited about that prayer that continues. Another new thing that we began this year, as I began to look at our Fellowship of Christian Athletes and look at the data, I realized that the majority of our students, 71%, are Christian. Of that 71%, and they're all different denominations, of that 71%, about 33% are Catholic. And I thought, we have Mass every Sunday, and before we were confined to Zoom, we were having Mass twice during the week on campus. But I thought, what are we doing for our students who are Christian but not Catholic? So Michelle and I worked together, and we've been so blessed to have our faculty and staff be presenters. Matt Taskey was one of our presenters. Dr. Williams was one of our presenters. Joe Cornley and his wife Pam were presenters. And it's been such a blessing because everybody does it a little differently, and it gives the students different opportunities. And so we're excited about that new initiative. Then also, we just have these spur of the moment. So we have our Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer, Dr. Rashawn Eastman. Michelle and I were all in a meeting one day, and we started talking about the prayer for humanity that was being, put out. And we said, well, why don't we do something for all the students, and let's do it on campus. So we gathered in the quad around the St. Joseph and the Child Jesus statue. We carried the Christ candle, the Paschal candle, out to the quad, and then we had each student light a candle. And it was exciting. We had about 45, 46 people there, faculty, staff, students, alumni. And it was a really exciting, wonderful opportunity for the students to talk about what they prayed for humanity, what hope did they have for humanity. And I think right now all of us need to be reminded of the many ways that we can celebrate hope. And for the rest of our programming and things that we're excited about, I'm going to turn it over to Michelle.
Hi, everyone. I know several of you, and there are some faces that I don't know. I'll introduce myself real quick. So I'm Michelle Arnold. I'm the Assistant Director of Mission Integration. I am also a double alum of the Mount. And I'm very, very proud of that. And I'm proud to see so many other alums here tonight. So like Sister Karen said, it's been exciting in the world of integrating the mission. And a joy to work with the students, but also to work with alums. We did in May, as part of our centennial year celebration, we did the Centennial Mater Dei in May pilgrimage, where we hope to get at least 100 pilgrimages, and it could be a short walk in your backyard, it could be a rosary, whatever you wanted it to be. And we had over 100 pilgrimages for the month of May, which was super exciting. And it's participation from folks like all of you, who did whatever it was that you did for your pilgrimage. So it was alums, and it was faculty and staff, and it was students. So again, it's that whole Mount community wrapped together, and Sisters of Charity included. So we had all of the elements of the Mount community. The awesome thing about that was it led to a rosary Zoom with the class of 1960, because they were celebrating their 60th anniversary. I had to do some math there for a second. And that was such a blessing because, Sister Karen and I got to reach out, and Matt as well, to some of our class of 1960 alums, and have been on subsequent Zooms with them. And the stories that they tell are amazing. You Mount alums are an amazing, and I'm going to totally put myself in this category. You're an amazing group of folks. Let me just say that. I am super proud when I look around the screen and I see each and every one, and we're all alums together. So this is all of us doing it out in the world in a really awesome kind of way. So after the Mater Dei in May pilgrimages, then June came, and we had a student who asked, well, can we do something for the month of June for the Sacred Heart of Jesus? Because that's the month devoted in the Catholic tradition to the Sacred Heart. So because the student asked, we said yes. And so we met every Friday in June and had a devotion to the Sacred Heart. And we walked through the 12 promises made by Jesus to St. Margaret Mary, and kind of what did that look like. And again, we had such great participation with alums, faculty, staff, and students. And I love that it's able to bring people together. And we had people from all over. It was so cool. So then just kind of on some of the student end of things that we do with the students. We kind of reinvigorated the Lions for Life group. They're a student organization that highlights and advocates for dignity of life issues. So looking from like womb to tomb. So abortion, immigration, prison, death penalty, hunger and homelessness, looking at all of those dignity of life issues, and how are we called as people of faith to respond to that. So we are hoping at some point to have speakers when it's safe, and do panels on Zoom as we're able to with people who can talk with us about those life issues. In November, we are going to go to the Holocaust and Humanities Center at the Museum Center to kind of look at the Holocaust is a dignity of life issue, and kind of, you know, what that looks like now. And then we're also planning at some point when it's safe to travel to Washington, D.C. for the March for Life. The cool thing, I think, sorry, I get really excited about things, about what I do and what Sister Karen does, and really what I think we all do at the Mount is when a student comes to us with an idea, we run with it. And so I had a student who came to me and said, can we have a Bible study? Kind of like Sister Karen, the athletes came. This was a non-athlete, which worked out for me because I don't sport. But she came and she said, you know, can we have a Bible study? And we said, sure. So we have a small group Bible study that until we had to not be on campus, we met in person. And now we meet on Zoom on Sundays after Mass. And we have been reading through the Bible, taking it apart chunk by chunk, chapter by chapter, trying to digest the New Testament in a somewhat chronological fashion and discussing it and talking about it. And, you know, it's wonderful fellowship, and it's diving into the Word of God and how does it apply to my life, both my life as the person of my age and then as a person who is 18 years old. So it's a beautiful conversation, and it's always lively. One of the newest things that we just started with the help of Sister Alice Ann O'Neill, who is a Sister of Charity, and she is also part of our music faculty, is a Catholic prayer group. And really what Sister Alice Ann wanted to do was lead some fellowship with the students, and in particular the Catholic students, because there wasn't necessarily a Catholic group on campus. So it's really kind of cool, and we're going to meet monthly to share experiences and to explore a variety of Catholic prayer. Because when she was talking last night, we were talking about it, and we all know how to pray, but do we know the so many varieties and the beautiful ways of prayer that are out there? So that's a wonderful fellowship, but it's also expanding our ideas of prayer and what that means to us in our lives. Okay, sorry, and I'm giving you lots of information. If anybody has questions, feel free to throw it in the chat. We'll answer that as much as we can. But I know Sister Karen is excited, and I'm very excited about working with the students and what we do with the students. So we also have Lions on a Mission, which is a living and learning community that enjoys a close relationship with the Sisters of Charity. It was an idea that came from an alum, and some of you might remember having more community with the Sisters of Charity when you were here at the Mount. I know in the 90s when I was at the Mount, there weren't a lot of Sisters of Charity still on campus, and now there's even fewer. So it is an intentional community and an intentional way to bring the students and our founders and our sponsors together in conversation and in prayer and in fellowship. And Sister Karen and I and Sister Barbara just came from a Lions on a Mission meeting to this one. So we are fresh off of that. The last thing I have to share is what our Interfaith Club is doing. And it's really exciting. So that's another student organization, and it looks at faith from a global perspective. And so we read and learn about world religions, and it's fascinating, just all the different ways that God is worshipped. We watched a National Geographic film that played down at Union Terminal years ago. It's Jerusalem. It was an IMAX film, and it's beautiful, and it follows the life, kind of in a brief way, of these three women, one who's Christian, one who is Muslim, and one who's Jewish, and their interactions with the city of Jerusalem being a city of the three Abrahamic traditions. And now we're watching the story of God with Morgan Freeman, and like Morgan Freeman in my mind is the voice of God. So, you know, it works, and it's such an amazing show. It's on Netflix. I highly recommend it. It's just good. And then we also celebrate different things like World Interfaith Harmony Week. This past year in February, it's the first week of February, and we gave away donuts for peace. And so we had a piece of peace, or a piece for peace. I forget how that went, but it was a lot of fun. You know, International Day of Peace, the prayer vigil for humanity fell on the International Day of Peace. And so the Interfaith Club gave away bracelets to everybody who was there that say peace in 5 different languages. And so that's, you know, pretty much what's going on now. Upcoming, we are celebrating Dia de los Muertos with the Hispanic and Latinx Student Union. And we're going to have an ofrenda table in the Mater Dei Chapel to be able to celebrate our ancestors who have passed on. If you've seen the movie Coco, you might be familiar with an ofrenda. And so that's what I have. And thank you for letting me share that with you. I am super excited by it, if you couldn't tell. And yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Michelle. Thank you. And since Patsy Schweiger's on the call or on the Zoom, I really want to credit Patsy because she is the one who, at the prayer, talked about how important it was for her to have relationships with some of the Sisters of Charity when she was a student. And Patsy's sharing at that prayer gave birth to Lions on a Mission, which is still going on today. So thank you, Patsy, for sharing your idea. It really gave birth to a wonderful, wonderful opportunity. And then I'd also like to, I apologize. I got so excited I didn't introduce myself, and I realize some of you don't know me. I'm Sister Karen Elliott. I'm a Sister of the Precious Blood from Dayton, Ohio. I live with Sister Barbara Davis. In fact, I've lived with the Sisters of Charity since 1982 when I made first vows. My first assignment was in an intercommunity house of Sisters of Charity and Sisters of the Precious Blood. And I still live with the Sister of Charity, Sister Barbara, and I'm an associate of the Sisters of Charity. And since Karen Martin's on the call, Karen, Michelle and I were on the Cincinnati Festival of Faiths Committee, but when COVID hit, it was just so difficult to try to reinvent everything we were doing for the Mount that we couldn't continue with that good work. But we intend to jump back into that here after we get ourselves situated.
Great. You're welcome at any time.
Thank you. I just want to point out one thing, and I'm going to put Dr. Williams on the spot, but I really admired this about Dr. Williams. When we started doing the Mater Dei in May, Dr. Williams is a relatively new Catholic. And I myself, I am embarrassed to admit this, but I don't have all the mysteries of the rosary memorized. I have to use a cheat sheet when I'm praying the rosary. And Dr. Williams, to his everlasting credit, sent me an email and said, can you send me directions on how to pray the rosary? And so, you know, the next thing we know, Dr. Williams is jumping in and praying the rosary. And then when a student talked about the devotion to the Sacred Heart, again, I'm embarrassed to admit this, but I'd never prayed the devotion to the Sacred Heart. It wasn't something that I grew up with. So I looked it up online and learned about it. And then here comes Dr. Williams joining in the devotion to the Sacred Heart. So I just want to give a shout out to Dr. Williams for his willingness to jump in and pray something that he's not familiar with. I think it's a blessing that we have a leader like Dr. Williams.
Well, that's kind of you, Sister Karen. Thank you very much. And I'm simply trying to keep up with the leader. Thank you for your leadership.
Thank you. I appreciate that. If anybody has any questions, we're open. If you want to, we might not know the answer, but you can ask us the question.
Can I add something that I forgot?
Yeah, please go
Okay.
ahead.
Sorry. So tomorrow night we have the prayers for overcoming racism, which you're all invited to. And it was planned and led. It will be led by the Lions for Life group tomorrow evening. So they have a really beautiful prayer planned. It's prayer and discussion. So I can't say enough wonderful things about it. But I hope to see some of you there. I know I will see some of you there.
Well, and I also want to say to Ann Saluk and to Bernadette Claire, we really appreciate your faithfulness to coming to the prayer for overcoming racism. I just think it's wonderful for the students to see examples of people like you who continue to be involved in prayer and in prayer with the Mount. So thank you both for your support.
Thank you,
Sister Karen.
It's really my privilege to be there, and I enjoy being a part of the Mount since I cannot come in person as much anymore. So this gives me a great excuse to be able to see everybody and still be in communion with all of you. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Dr. Williams, were you going to say something?
Well, I was simply going to, first of all, recognize former Board of Trustees member Bernadette and thank her for that service over so many years. But also to introduce Ann Saluk, who is also a current member of the Board of Trustees. And I saw her sitting in here, and I thought we need to make sure that we recognize her for her leadership. The Board of Trustees does a tremendous job for the Mount, and Ann is always there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ann,
Well, it is. Can I just say a couple things, Sister Karen?
Please. Yeah, please do.
It's a privilege to be able to have the time to come back and serve the Mount, which is very near and dear to my heart. Sister Karen and I actually went to high school together. Didn't see one another from high school until the day I came to the board orientation, and our paths crossed again. And so it's been wonderful to reconnect. And I do want to thank Sister Karen for spearheading the restoration of the chapel. Outside of the chemistry department, probably the chapel even more than the chemistry department was my favorite spot on campus when I was a student there. It was utilized more during exam week by everyone. You know, if you're using the inside pathway, you pass the chapel going to and from classes multiple times a day. And it's just this incredible, beautiful place for solitude, for prayer, reflection. And it's really wonderful to see it having been restored. So thank you, Sister Karen, for spearheading that. Another activity that came, and I'm not sure if it's from whose department it came from, but an event that was meaningful was the renewal of vows that before COVID, there was actually a mass inviting alumni and spouses back and a renewal of wedding vows at an a Saturday evening mass. So that was another activity that's happened in the past year. I can't exactly remember when, but lots of good things happening. It's a very different campus from when I was there, when it was all women and 98 or 99% Catholic. And I just think it just adds to the diversity, adds to the depth and of the experience. So good things happening.
Thank you, Ian. Go ahead, Dr. Williams.
I was just going to say one final thing. I was going to say this at the very beginning, actually, because Sister Barbara Davis is sitting there, and it looks like I'm looking right at her all the time. I want to thank her for her service on the board, but I was going to thank you and Michelle for getting this, all worked out. But I know Sister Barbara Davis had something to do with it too, because she's always involved, always engaged, and we thank you, Sister Barbara.
I'm just usually the one that they run ideas by, and I say, "Good going, girls."
So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Well, and Sister Barbara's really been working for Matt Taskey. She just has been making calls to the alumni to wish them a happy birthday, and she just hit over the 1,400 mark this afternoon.
Wow.
1,410 calls to alumni.
Hear, hear.
I wish I could say I spoke to 1,410, but mostly it's voicemails or disconnected numbers. But it helps clean up the database if the number is invalid.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sister Barbara. We couldn't do hardly anything without your presence and willingness and eagerness. It's revitalizing too, so thank you.
I always say about Sister Barbara, and this embarrasses her, but I'm going to say it anyway. God was having a very good day when Sister Barbara was created. It's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Hear, hear.
And then you better include my sister, or she won't be happy.
Oh, absolutely. Her twin, yes, they came as a package deal.
Yeah.
The other thing I just failed to mention, Dr. Williams probably be rolling his eyes at me over forgetting this, but we worked very hard for the past 2 years to come up with a Catholic identity statement. And the work that was involved in that is because we included students, faculty, staff, the administration. It really went through every constituency. We did have Sisters of Charity on the committee, and Sister Barbara was our secretary for that because she types a lot faster than I do. And I'm really delighted that the Board of Trustees supported our resolution for that, and soon we'll be able to publish. It's in a context of the mission statement, the Catholic identity statement, the Sisters of Charity, heritage and values, the Catholic intellectual tradition, and Catholic social teaching, so that it's a very robust and inclusive statement about who we are as Mount St. Joseph University, as a Catholic academic community. So at this point, I would like to lead us in prayer. And the first prayer is that the technology works. I know some of you have seen this before, but when we knew we were going to be having the opportunity to share with alumni, we thought that this would be appropriate. So we'll share the video prayer, and then after that, we're going to put everyone into small groups on Zoom and ask you a question and ask you to please share with each other, and then we'll come back together for a closing prayer. So without further ado, God willing, we will begin the prayer.
Is the sound on?
Yeah, there's no sound.
Oh, okay. Let me start over. Okay.
Would you like me to sing it, Sister Karen?
Yeah, I'm gonna stop sharing.
Came before us.
Okay, we'll start over.
I am standing on the shoulders of the ones who came before me. I am stronger for their courage. I am wiser for their words. I am lifted by their longing for a fair and brighter future. I am grateful for their vision, for their toiling on this earth. We are standing on the shoulders of the ones who came before us. They are saints and they are humans. They are angels, they are friends. We can see beyond the struggles and the troubles and the challenge when we know that by our efforts things will be better in the end. They lift me higher than I could ever fly, carrying my burdens away. I imagine our world if they hadn't tried. We wouldn't be here celebrating today. I am standing on the shoulders of the ones who came before me. I am honored by their passion for our liberty. I will stand a little taller. I will work a little longer, and my shoulders will be there to hold the ones who follow me. They lift me higher than I could ever fly, carrying my burdens away. I imagine our world if they hadn't tried. We wouldn't be so very blessed today. I am standing on the shoulders of the ones who came before me. I am honored by their passion for our liberty. I will stand a little taller. I will work a little longer, and my shoulders will be there to hold the ones who follow me. My shoulders will be there to hold the ones who follow me.
Man,
So at this time, we'd like to pose the question to you, whose shoulders do you stand on? And we'd ask you in your small groups to make sure that every person gets an opportunity to share the shoulders on which they stand. And then we'll come back together as a large group. Jill, are you working the group magic?
It's being worked.
Okay, thank you.
And while the magic workers are working, I'm going to put the question into the chat.
Oh, good idea. Thank you.
All right, Sister Karen, I think we're going to have to do a change of plans here, and I apologize. The breakout room function is not working right now.
Okay, well then we'll just break out together. If anybody would like to share a story of someone's shoulders that you stand on, it doesn't have to be connected to the mount, but it can be. So whose shoulders do you stand on?
I'd like to share.
Go ahead.
Certainly within the first month that I arrived at the Mount, excuse me, I went over to the Sisters of Charity Mother House and spent some time sharing with the sisters there. And who was sitting right up front was Sister Jean Patrice Harrington.
Mm-hmm.
And I made my comments, and she called me over afterwards and talked and encouraged me, and I will never forget that. She is just one of the shoulders on which I stand, that's for sure.
Thank you.
I'll share. When I see the picture of Sister Paula Gonzalez on her solar-powered golf cart, next to the picture of the Earth Connection, which she was responsible for starting and creating, certainly she is a woman on whose shoulders I stand. She taught me biology in high school. Now, Paula was about 5'1", so she was tiny in stature, but mighty in thought and in a vision for a future. I mean, she was speaking about global warming 25 years before it became a common household word. So Paula Gonzalez is one of the women on whose shoulders I stand.
I'd like to share.
Please.
And I'd like to recall Sister Adele, who was our second president of the Mount. She was also my biology teacher and my advisor. And she was one to whom I could go with anything. I felt at the time that I could go to any of the Sisters of Charity, including Sister Maria Corona, our president, and Sister Angela Mary, our physics teacher. I can name probably all of them, but Sister Adele, I found myself being drawn to, maybe because she was my advisor, and I could get to her with anything that I had on my mind or anything that I wanted to get clearance about, more clarity on. And I just, whenever I see her, I get a big smile on my face whenever I see her picture, as I do when we were singing just a while ago. So thanks for letting me share that.
Thank you.
I would say during my years at the Mount, Mr. Feldhake was my advisor in the chemistry department. Sister Elfrida Alexander was the head of chemistry, and she knew Sister Sarah Francis from Julian High School, who had taught me chemistry there. They'd been graduate students together at Notre Dame one summer. But beyond, even Sister Elfrida, even beyond the education in the classroom, inspired me. I went back to visit her after she had retired from the department, and her role at that point in time, this convinced me that the religious never retire. And, she had gone from heading the department and teaching chemistry to reviewing the investments of the Sisters of Charity from a social justice perspective, which is like a whole nother language, I think. So those are two that were, we were a small department. Everybody knew one another. Lots of encouragement and support from faculty. But I just feel like there are so many people whose shoulders I stand on who have encouraged and supported me over the years. It would take a while to list them all, but those are two special ones from the Mount.
I was in the class right behind Ann, and Bill Schutzius was my advisor, and we were there at a time when we had Dr. Wolverton, so they had entered the ranks of having male president, Dr. Williams. But and years because my sister was before me and loved every sister of charity that had some kind of effect upon our lives. And at that point, we had a lot of them for instructors. And Sister Victoria Marie Ford probably taught me how to write and how to read and how to interpret. And Vicki Marie was really responsible probably for my 35-year career in schools and school library technology. Sister Annette Marie Paveglio hired me, my first job at St. William, and then encouraged me to leave after a year and go back to grad school. And wonderful, wonderful friends with my father. He would come to Indianapolis, and I remember going by, and there she was sitting in the living room with my ailing father talking about stocks and bonds and the politics and people. And the Mount has just really blessed our family, and we feel like we hopefully been able to give back. And also say as a sidebar, Sister, when you were talking about your groups, about 12 of us from my class of 77 that connected when the world shut down due to one of our friends who lives alone in Philly. And we have been getting together at 9 o'clock on Saturday nights since March.
Wow. That's awesome. That is awesome.
A couple times a year. But there's 10 of us, and it's been a blessing. Our 47 years now are taking us through what might be the toughest challenge of our lives, and we're all doing really well.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Joelle, and I have to share with you the call that Sister Barbara and Michelle and I were on before we joined this call. Our Lions on a Mission, Sister Annette Paveglio is involved with our students on a Zoom right now. On a mission. So
I would like you need to tell her I said hello.
What's your last name, Joellen?
Flynn, F-L-Y-N-N.
Okay, I will tell her.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I have to say, I'm an Mount alum wannabe, but I just cannot. I would need God to give me more than 24 hours in a day if I would try to work on a degree at the Mount. I actually thought about getting an MBA, and when I mentioned it to Sister Barbara, she thought I was a little crazy, so I didn't continue with that. But a sister who I have never met profoundly influenced me and gives me the credit for working to restore the chapel. But my first days at the Mount, when I walked in that chapel and saw the just absolute beauty and the diversity of expression in the sacred art that's in the chapel, I was just overwhelmed. And the enormity, when you look at how tiny, Sister, I'm forgetting her name now, Zimmer, Augusta, thank you. Yeah, it's sad when the brain goes. But you look how tiny she was, and she did that mural with over 140,000 pieces of Venetian glass, and I can't even put a jigsaw puzzle together I just find that utterly inspiring. And I knew we didn't have money, and I knew all the roadblocks that would be to getting it done. And one day I was sitting in the chapel just praying to Sister Augusta. And I said, I need you to help me, because this is going to take a lot of money and I don't know how to get it done. And so I sat there and prayed for a while. And then after I was finished praying, when I was walking out in the main aisle, I kicked this big chunk of wood, and it skittered across the terrazzo floor under a pew. And when I laid down, because I have knee replacements, I can't kneel. So I laid down on the kneeler, looked up under the pew, and I saw this huge crack. So I took a picture of the crack. And then, of course, when I shared the picture of the cracked pew with Dr. Williams, I think Sister Augusta inspired Dr. Williams, because the ball just started rolling, that we were able to do the things that we were able to do. And so I'm giving all the credit to Sister Augusta, because I had no idea how to proceed. And she literally showed me the way.
So I'm going to jump off your Sister Augusta there, partly because I think that the altar at my parish may have been done by her.
Oh.
I have to find out, but I think that it might have been. It's the same mosaic work, and it's beautiful. So I will find that out and report back. But having been a double alum, and I'm sure that as alums you can all probably agree with this, the faculty and the staff are the shoulders that I absolutely stand on. The staff make the Mount a beautiful place to study and to work. And they're constantly, every member of staff, whether it's the people who clean up after us or the people who take care of our beautiful campus landscape, or those of us who, are staff and work with students, which I'm thrilled to be a part of that. It's all because we're a community, and the faculty are amazing folks as well. So I mentioned that I started at the Mount in 1994, but I didn't graduate until 2017. And my very first class in 1994 was with Buffy Barkley. And when I came back, Buffy Barkley was my champion. And she was the one who got me through finishing my English degree, and didn't think I was crazy when I wanted to go on and get my master's degree, and sat with me as I tried to figure out what it was. So that loving community of faculty and staff, that's whose shoulders I stand on. And Joellen, when you said Bill Schutzius, I love that man.
Best. Yeah.
He amazing. And Tom Seibert, who just passed recently, he was my advisor.
Yeah, I had him too.
Yeah. And so, these are the people who never go away from your mind. And so those are the shoulders that I am grateful to stand on every day.
Thank you.
And I do want to jump in. Loretta Allen said she's having some technical problems with her audio, but I wanted to share what she presented in the chat box. She attended weekend college in 1986 and recalls Sister Cashman during orientation. She was comforting and encouraging as an African-American woman. This was her initial experience with attending a Catholic institution. And after receiving her Bachelor's of Science degree, she was blessed to be employed at Good Samaritan Hospital. She is standing on the shoulders of her grandparents, who stressed the importance of education and thanked us for allowing her to participate in this way. That gave me the chills.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Loretta, I wanted to let you know I'm in touch with Sister Elizabeth Cashman's nieces that were very close to her. And with your permission, I'd like to share your memory with them, because I know it'll be very, very meaningful to her. As you can imagine, they miss her very greatly.